So on the subject of finance, investment, financial independence, retire early, the FIRE community, today I thought I'd discuss a book that I read years ago that I think had an impact on my overall thinking about finances. And the book is called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a short book, which is one of the nice things about it, particularly if you're young. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to read it, but it teaches some very valuable principles, and I have a copy of it. I picked it up the other day and read through the first chapter or two. And it's kind of fun to see the things that I underlined in this book from many years ago. And one of those I thought I'd share with you today. The basic idea was that, hey, there's a really, really wealthy person back in the heyday of Babylon. He was the richest man in Babylon, but he didn't start out rich. He was poor to begin with, and he had some friends that um, went to talk to him. They were still poor, and they tried to find out what is the secret to his success. Why is it that he achieved so many riches and they were still working their dead end jobs, doing the same thing they had for a lot of years? And so it kind of starts out by talking about the basic principle is to set aside 1/10 of anything you make as yours. The idea is you pay yourself first. Um, and so, for the rest of your life, your food, your shelter, your clothing, that's you giving your money away to other people. But the idea is to pay them second. You want to pay yourself first, and you want to separate at least 1/10 of what you earn, and that's for you. And that becomes your seed funding in order to use for investments for your future. And so at first, his two friends kind of balked at that and like, well, but I need every amount that I earn just to live on. And that kind of echoes today's, seems like today's paycheck to paycheck environment. Everybody seems to pay, it's like their lifestyle creeps to the point where they need every single paycheck, and if they get a little extra, then they go out and finance some other thing that they can fit barely into their overall payment plan, and thus they never get ahead. And so this richest man in Babylon said, 1/10 of what you earn is yours to keep. It is your investment money. And then you want to put that money to work for you, doing some kind of an investment that then your money creates other little seed children that then they go out and work for you so that eventually you don't have to work. And then he gave some examples of things not to invest in. Um, he, uh, he said there was a brick maker who borrowed a year's worth of this guy's savings to go buy gemstones in some faraway country, but a brick maker doesn't know anything about gemstones, and they ended up selling him worthless glass. And so basically this guy lost his whole first year of saving his 10th of a percentage, but he continued to save. And then the rest of the book is the process of him slowly using that 10th of the income in order to do the investing and learn how to be one of the rich men in Babylon also. And so as I said, I underlined this part is like save 1/10 of everything you earn. That is your seed funding. And I think this book worked into my psyche over the many years because I have always been a saver. Um, when I started my engineering job, I signed up for the 4% matching um, thing so that I was saving at least 4%. But I didn't stop there. I would always set aside a portion of my paycheck so that I could reinvest it. And I did things like paid extra principal payments on my house. I paid off my student loans for both myself and my wife years early. We paid off our cars. And so part of our 10% went to paying off debts as quickly as we could, which ended up creating gains for us because we weren't paying that money into interest. And then slowly over time, I learned how to do my own investing, um, and to the point now that the uh, the income that I saved or the investments now um, are on par with my engineering salary. So passive income is now enough to basically live on, and it's like the little children dollars are now bringing in more income, and the children dollars are bringing in more income. And so I have money that's working for me that I've slowly worked over over a lot of time. And so I started off small. Budgets were tight when we first bought our house and had kids, but I didn't let my lifestyle creep up. I always tried to save more, and there was a time when I was saving half of my salary. That was about, I guess, 15 years into my overall procedure. And then in the last couple of years, because I've had dividend income to live on, I've actually saved basically 100% of my salary. Now I had to pay taxes and I had to pay health care. I was maxing out an HSA. I maxed out my 401k plan pre-tax, and then I also did a mega backdoor Roth for the rest of it. So basically saved, I don't know, $75,000 into the 401k system in a year, plus the HSA contributions and an IRA for my wife, and also a Roth for myself. And just as much as I could, it was kind of fun to see just how much I could save, but I didn't necessarily need the funding because I had passive income that paid for things. So, my example, I kind of wonder if, um, going back to that book, the idea of saving at least a tenth of what you earn and using that as the seed funding to make those dollars earn, and then just continuing year after year after year to let it grow. So, it's fun to see me underline that. It's probably been 20 years ago that I read that book, maybe 25. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But that principle sunk in, and I've sort of lived by it for a lot of years. And, I bring that up because everybody out there, if you're listening to this, maybe you're on your own financial journey, and the idea of reducing your expenses so that you can save at least 10% of your income to then have future funds to save is a great principle to live by. Came from the book The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a fun little read if you have time. It doesn't take very long to read the book, and it kind of is inspiring. It's interesting to think about. So it's a fun little thing. Save a 10% of your income at least as a minimum, and then use that for investing. So hope that's helpful. Like, subscribe. We'll see you. Bye.